Hello, my name is Christian Day. In my case, it was a 2024 case, Chiaverini versus the city of Napoleon, Ohio. My justice is Ketanji Brown Jackson, and the amendment I'll be talking about is the Fourth Amendment. Now, the Fourth Amendment protects against unlawful searches and seizures, and this ties into the ethical law enforcement. Chiaverini versus the city of Napoleon highlights the balance between protecting privacy rights and enabling effective policing. It also raised questions about fairness and justice in legal interpretations. The Fourth Amendment is key in protecting individuals from government overreach, but applying these protections often lead to ethical debates about law enforcement practices. Justice Jackson's focus on fairness and equity makes her perspective on this case equally interesting. Her history of addressing power imbalances and systemic issues would have added valuable insight. This The case is a good example of Fourth Amendment protections in action. Uh, Chiaverini himself claimed government overreach in how his jewelry store operations were handled. This case shows the tension between constitutional rights and law enforcement accountability. The Fourth Amendment requires courts to ensure searches and seizures follow traditional legal principles. Justice Jackson's approach would likely have focused on the systemic imbalances in law enforcement practices. Her philosophy often emphasizes fairness and context in legal decisions such as this one. She probably would have explored how power dynamics affected justice in cases like this. Her perspective would have helped stress the need for balance between state actions and individual insights. Now, Justice Jackson often critiques government actions that harm individual liberties. Justice Jackson's her focus on equity would question if safeguards are enough to protect marginalized groups. She might have also examined how technology like surveillance, such as that, complicates the balance between privacy and public safety. Her analysis would have added depth to his case, emphasizing fairness and ethical governments have, like what I said before. The case shows the need to view privacy rights through a fairness lens. Justice Jackson's philosophy focuses on this equity, and she often critiques these actions that maintain unfair systems. Her perspective would have framed privacy protections as a reflection of human dignity. This aligns with questions about fairness and how state enforces laws, which we all have opinions on that. Justice Jackson's approach could have challenged current norms and improved legal discussions on privacy and ethics. This case also raises questions about mistakes by law enforcement that could impact on privacy rights. Justice Jackson would likely explore how errors would affect these vulnerable populations, and her philosophy would have emphasized fairness and accountability in these communities. She might have probably argued that allowing reasonable mistakes could harm individual rights, and her analysis would have stressed the need for fairness. This case shows how privacy laws and law enforcement accountability often intersect with each other. With Justice Jackson, she would have likely focused on the power disparities and lack of fairness in government actions, which we see pretty much on a daily basis. Her approach would have questioned the morality of invasive surveillance and its impact on equity. Her ideas could have refined the Fourth Amendment protections and addressed this and apply them to the challenges we have today in modern times. Just to wrap everything up, Chiaverini versus Napoleon highlights the balance between privacy rights and effective governments. Justice Jackson's focus on fairness and equity would have added valuable insight to this case, which is why I chose her as my justice of choice. Her approach would have been both constitutional and ethical. This this case showed basically how fairness and justice could guide legal decisions on privacy and law enforcement. Thank you.